Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today I'm playing a deck from a donor who wanted to see another Simulacrum Synthesizer deck, and they sent me this particular list from Japan. So that's what we're playing today. So for those who aren't familiar with it, Simulacrum Synthesizer, this is a 3-mana artifact that just scries 2 and it comes into play. So not great on that front. However, whenever another artifact with mana value 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you get an Urza Saga construct. So that's pretty exciting. So we can use this and just get a whole bunch of big scary lads out. Now, this deck isn't going super hard on it. It's only got 3. I've noticed that some of these decks end up flooding out on synthesizers, and it's not actually a great card to have unless you're set up for it. So I think having 3 is an interesting round, and I'm curious to see how it plays out. But our deck's doing some other weird stuff as well. So we have a Displacer Kitten. If you're unfamiliar with this one, it's whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So this does some pretty interesting combo-y things. So we can use this to draw a bunch of cards by blinking the Thought Monitor, and we can do some Cryptic Coat shenanigans, so we can keep flickering this and getting cards off the top of our deck until we find the ones we want. And we've also got some card advantage baked into this deck in the form of the One Ring, Emry, Lurker, the Loch, and Satoru, which is very good with things like Ornithopter or Frogmites who are paying nothing for them, or Sojourner's Companion. And obviously Satoru plus Displacer Kitten is kind of the combo here, because every time we blink a creature we get to draw a card, and then if we draw, let's say, a 0-drop, then we just get to go again and draw another card, and we're kind of just going to play out a load of stuff. It's going to sort of operate in a weird way. We've also got a little Urza Saga beatdown plan here, very solid. We've got Lavaspur Boots, Aether Spellbomb package to go with it. We've got some mana in the form of petals. We do have one Chrome Mox, which I'm a little bit curious about, to be honest, because a lot of our things are artifacts which don't actually pitch into the Chrome Mox, but it's only a one-off, so it should be a thing that we maybe fetch sometimes rather than a thing that we're relying on. A couple of Mox Opals as well, and we do have 2 Surge Extraction, which was in the list I was sent. This is basically just a meta call right now because there's so much graveyard based stuff going on, whether it's proper Reanimator, Rescaminator, or whatever. This is a thing that is weird seeing it in a main deck, but it's a medical, and that's a reasonable medical, I suppose. A few other bits and pieces. We've got like some Chalice here. We've got Skorpekh Lord. So this deck's got a lot of stuff in it. It's got sort of disparate numbers of things. We're not going super hard on it. The synthesizer deck I played the other day, it was going really hard in synthesizer. It was a deck that had lots of 4-ofs of everything, and it did feel a little bit clunky. So maybe this is one where it's had some testing done, and the numbers are a little bit smoother along the way. Mana base wise, we've got some Ancient Tombs, which is obviously Urza Saga's best friend. We've got some Artifact mana, and then we've got a few basics to get us through, and then an Otawara to bounce some stuff. Sideboard wise, we've got some more Graveyard Hate, 2 to target for our Saga, a Caracas to bounce some scary legendary creatures, some counter magic in the form of Fluster, Force, and Hydroblast, and then 4 Orcish Bowmasters we can board into for some matchups. So this deck, to me, on first inspection, is one of 2 things. It's either a bit of a mess, or it's some relatively tested in 2 numbers that actually make sense. And I don't really know which one it's going to be until we jam with it. So remember to like and subscribe, and let's jam and find out. Alright, we are on the play here. On the draw here, and we have a turn 1 Emry. We have this kind of somewhat stinky Chrome Mox here, but we can deal with that later on, I suppose. We could put Satoru into it, just get a nice source of mana for us there, but I don't think that's where I want to be. An Urborg. So my initial instinct is our opponent is playing some sort of Dark Depths strategy. Right, so let's get this down. This gives us a 1-mana Emry. Let's see what we mill. We're going to pop our graveyard up here because it's going to be a relevant zone. Mishra's Bauble, Frogmite, all that sort of jazz. So next turn we can play a Satoru and then draw some cards. That's pretty reasonable. I think I will play this out because our opponent has the potential to Thoughtseize us or whatever. The fact they didn't on turn 1, though, is interesting. I hope they don't just play Dark Depths Hexmage, but if there's any way to go in Magic the Gathering, I don't mind going at the hands of a Marit Lage. Alright, that's the first part. There's the second part of that little combo. Okay, we're going to need to find some help to defeat this. Metallic Rebuke is a little too late, so we'll play this one out. Get our Infiltrator friend. So this is black and blue. And then we choose the Frogmite. We get to play the Frogmite for free because of Affinity. This will draw us a card because we didn't spend any mana on it. A Bauble. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this costs 1 right now. So if we play this Chrome Mox out, are we imprinting this Metallic Rebuke? I think we are. There could be a situation where this becomes relevant. If we draw a Spellbomb, this means we don't have to crack all of our things, and we're probably not counterspelling anything right now anyway. Right, let's cast this 7-drop for free. We're looking for Ornithopter and Aether Spellbomb. And Mishra's Bauble. That's not the one, is it? What's the top card of their deck? See if we can get some information about what we're playing against. Green Sun Zenith. That's good information to have. Do we have anything that helps us out in our deck that we can draw and cast at instant speed? An Otawara. We have a legend. We have 2 legends, actually. So Otawara is a hit here. I guess we look at the top card of our library, since we already know the top card of theirs. So the other option here was just to use the Bauble as more information for next turn. So we can have a look at the... After they've drawn their card, we can have a look at the top card of their library and see if there's any information there that helps us out. But we've got a 1-outer, I think, in our deck. And we know that the Vault of Whispers isn't going to do it. Otawara. Displacer Kitten. Right. I believe our opponent is going to attack us, so I'm not going to insult their intelligence. I'm just going to scoop here. Okay, we've seen the green from their deck as well. What is our solution to Metallic? The Caracas is pretty nice, and I quite like the Needle here. I'm pretty sure our opponent's going to have things like Elvish Reclaimer, because we saw the Green Sun Zenith off of the Bauble. This is not where we want these surgical extractions. That can just become the Caracas and the Needle. Are any of these looking useful to us? Faerie Macabre can block for a turn, but that feels like a pretty silly way to play this game, if I'm being honest. Metallic Rebuke is interesting. Would I rather have a Force of Will is the question. I'm not convinced. That's a big chunk of resources to do that. No, I think we just go back in. We've got 1 Ornithopter. Maybe our Ornithopter can play hero mode. This hand does not look like one I want to keep, so we're going to send this one back. A turn 1 Chalice into turn 2 Saga. Or do we do turn 1 Saga into turn 2 start making tokens? I think we're keeping. Just need to work out what goes away. It's probably the Skorpekh Lord, I think, here. Like, these cards are blue, so they might be useful for Force of Will. It's just a case of, do you want to slow this down and Chalice of the Void outprint? I believe we do. I did keep 7, though. It's a little sketchy. All right, let's get this Chalice of the Void down and pass it to our opponent. We also get in a weird spot if we draw a blue source next turn. Like, are we supposed to play the blue source out? What is this going to be? A Green Sun Zenith where X equals 2. So this is going to be a Collector Oof, I believe. Which is fine. We're just going to go on the Saga plan here. Yep, there it is. Let's just make some large friends. We can also fetch an Ornithopter off of our as a Saga to protect us against Metallic. But they are a Hex Mage depth deck, so they're going to have a pretty solid amount of their deck dedicated to doing the combo. Alright, so this pops off here. I don't really want to play this Saga out. I think we're just going to activate this, get all the value out of that, and then play the next Saga. And just do the same thing with that. Alright, that Dark Depths is a little bit scary for us. But I believe in the power of Ornithopter. I can buy us an entire turn, potentially. Ugh, Ghost Quarter. We do have basics, though. So we can go and unlock our Synthesizer if they fire off this Ghost Quarter. It's intriguing that they haven't fired it off just yet. Maybe they're waiting for us to activate this, and then they'll do it. Yeah. Oh, they're going for the Ancient Tomb. Sure. I'll go and get this island. So this is going to trigger here. We get to float mana off this, and we get to tutor. We could go and get Pithing Needle. That seems... It's either the Pithing Needle or the Ornithopter. Not the easiest choice, actually. I'll take this Pithing Needle because we can't cast it underneath the Chalice later on. So I think we want Thespian Stage here. Is that true, or do we want the Hex Mage? They're further away from doing doing Thespian Stage things. So we're going to name Vampire Hex Mage here. Well, then maybe if we name Thespian Stage and try and cover the Hex Mage with the Force, is a different plan that we can do that also works. Right, let's just get this Synthesizer down. Let's our Scry. Leaves us with a blue card for Force. And Abrupt Decay. Okay, well, we're not doing much about that one, are we? The Mistvault Bridge can go to the bottom of our library. So this is 1, 2, 3. This will allow us to make constructs, so we'll just put this on top. It's okay with me. Am I the beatdown just yet? I don't think so. Maybe we're supposed to attack there. Just get a little bit of extra damage, because the main way they're going to kill us is going to be with a 2020. Alright, that doesn't work here, but they're just playing this so they have more land, so they can manipulate them with other effects, like... I suppose they can't play the Reclaim or anything, but they could Green Suns for a Reclaim and then start reclaiming this away. They just want to have the lands in play. And I can't blame them. Oh wait, no, this doesn't do it, make a construct, does it? Because I've completely forgot about this Collect Reef. What am I doing? That's a bit of a swing and a miss, isn't it? It does still pump our construct, though, which is not to be underestimated. Although we could go and get the Cohen to play tapped one, if that's what we're doing anyway with this. Or are we just trying to get more artifacts in play to get this as a thing that we can cast? Alright, so now we have a 4-4. We can play this on 0, which is a little awkward for us. That gives us 1, so that gives us 5, and then we can just cast this Sojourner's Champion. That seems acceptable. We don't have that many zeros in our deck. Right, so now we can tap with the 6-6. Right, maybe keeping that artifact land was a good idea. An Outland Liberator. I think this is worth pointing a Cryptic Coat fueled Force of Will at. They're going to have to send their poor little collector in front of the bus soon. What do we get here? Are any of these things actually useful for us? I guess we'll just get the Ornithopter this time around. Now we're definitely on the beat. Now, if we started a turn earlier, we would maybe force a chump out of our opponent here. Play this as a Saga. And pass. So the Thespian stage does give them a 20-20 right now. They will have 2 blockers. Alright, that didn't work out for them. Do I want to change my mind about anything we have here? I don't think so. I quite like how we've worked this one out. Do we want more forces instead of Metallic Rebukes? I don't think so. I like the Metallic Rebuke. And we're probably going to get our hand peppered with some Thoughtseize and stuff like that. So we'll go in like this. Not loving this one. Like, what does it actually do? Slow boat to Urza Saga Town. So we could just play out the Urza Saga and hope that we can get the blue source and the Aether Spellbomb out of this in time. I think we can do better though. Is this better? It doesn't feel better. I go as far as to say this one feels substantially worse. What is the opening hands we're looking for? Like Emry or something that interacts with their combo? Alright, let's go lower. I guess we have to put back the Force here. And it's probably... Is it the Opal here? Or is it the Bauble? I like the redraw, but I also just like getting a guy into play. I think we want to keep both artifact lands. So this is 1, 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we can make a turn to 4-4, which might be enough to do some work if our opponent's relying on Collect Roof. But Collect Roof is just going to body us pretty hard here. And there's not much we can do about that. A Lotus Petal. Urza's Saga, does that change anything here? You can start churning out Saga constructs and getting towards an Aether Spellbomb. So we do this and play the Pithing Needle. Next time we play this and this, then we have Metalcraft and we can activate the Saga. I think that's probably better than where we're at right now. We'll name Vampire Hexmage. Because Vampire Hexmage is kind of the easier way of doing it because you're left with more resources. So if you have the option of doing both, you usually go for the Hexmage first and then the stage depths. Because it's much easier to hold up mana around a Hexmage than is the Thespian stage plan. We're going to see here a crop rotation in the upkeep. Let's pause on this one for a second. Make them think about a counterspell. So they're using this to shuffle the card they left on top with their Underground Mortuary because things have changed since then apparently. So that is kind of an interesting one. I do not want to get stung by... Okay, so there's a... Okay, yeah, so they've pivoted off of the Hexmage plan because we played this Pithing Needle. Oakley Dokley. So they can't make it right now unless they have an Elvish Spirit Guide. In which case, we just lose. Okay. Are we into Emry, Lurker of the Loch more than we are as a Saga? 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think we do the Emry plan. I think we just make a construct and then go and get our Aether Spellbomb next turn, which is a very hard thing to deal with from a Dark Depths player. Oh, have they got the Spirit Guide? They do have the Spirit Guide. Alright, we're just dead. Sure, Yeah, Turbo Depths is a very good deck. You see it on my channel a lot. I haven't played it recently because there was a bug with Not of This World. I'm not sure if the bug's been fixed just yet. So I haven't played it for a couple of weeks on the channel. But we'll be playing some more very soon, don't you worry. Alright, 0-1, let's go to round 2. This opener is okay. We get to make a turn to Synthesizer and hold up Force of Will. Seems like a good start to a game. We'll keep this one. I think we're supposed to offer our Ancient Tomb up on turn 1 though. To potential Wastelands. And the coloured mana from the seat's going to be more important. Hopefully we don't get Wasteland and we just get to play our Synthesizer, scry towards some mana or whatever. Let's pause with our opponent. A Grief. Pitching Thoughtseize. Alright. Take a look-see. We've got to reanimate to follow this up with. And then probably take the Force now and then reanimate it and take our Synthesizer. And that's going to hurt a fair bit. They might take this Displacer Kitten because nobody's ever done anything fair with that card. Yeah, so taking the Force of Will. Which makes me suspect a Reanimate is coming in. They're just clearing the way to get that into play. They might pivot into a Wasteland though. Or they could save the Wasteland for our seat. That takes us further away from Metalcraft as well. Right, no, just going for the Ancient Tomb now. Now, might be a good time to draw that main deck Surgical Extraction that we have. Alright, we drew an Ornithopter. That turns on our Mox Opal and gives us a Satoru. So we can play the Displacer Kitten and then just start blinking our Ornithopter, drawing a bunch of cards. And that might get us to where we need to be. If they're on the sort of fairer side of Scam, then we'll probably be okay. It's when they start entombing and reanimating like giant monsters. Alright, we're just going to lose our Synthesizer, I believe. Although the Displacer Kitten is not nothing here. If we draw something like an Ancient Tomb, then we really get to cook here. The fact that they've got just a Swamp here makes me think our opponent might be on mono black rather than blue black. They did take the Synthesizer as expected. Out. Our creature has Menace, so we can attack. It's just going to be Ships in the Night. But our opponent's starting on a lower life total than us. There's a polluted Delta from our opponent. We will take 3 points of damage. They could be holding up something like a Bowmasters if they don't play anything here. Yeah, my Bowmaster sense is tingling. This is a good one. This will trigger our Satoru. If we attack first, they can still kill our with the Bowmasters anyway. So our Cryptic Coat in. This is a nice thing that we can bounce and reuse with the Displacer Kitten and just sort of grind some value. So as long as our opponent's on a fair plan, I like where we're at. We're going to see a blue source. We are. Okay, so our opponent is on blue-black, which is Gaminator. Good to know. They left a card on top. That doesn't sit amazingly well with me. One black mana. It's going to be a Fatal Push. It's a Murderous Cut onto our Satoru. Understood. Yes, we couldn't attack into the Bowmaster's mana anyway, because they ping it, play 2 guys, and eat it up. But we have a creature with Ward 2. What is this card? It's a Mishra's Bauble. I think being a 2-2, well, it's actually a 3-2 because of the pump from the equipment. I think that's pretty reasonable. If we find another land, we can play a Displacer Kitten, and then start going to town, blinking our Cryptic Coat. I think they're going to go and get their 3 damage in first. We could double block here and trade our coat. But if they've got anything like a push or whatever, then that's not to sit well for us. So we just take this, see what our opponent has to bring to the table, and then continue our cloak beatdown, hopefully. Well, that's a mighty fine card. So this creature can't be blocked. So it's definitely crashing. I'm going to pop our Graveyard out here, which is going to be relevant soon. Hopefully. Each player sacrifices a non-token creature. I guess we lose our Ornithopter. Weird. Why do they want us to lose our Ornithopter? We still have Metalcraft. Maybe they misclicked. That would make sense there. Okay. We've got an Ornithopter we can rebuy. Not the most exciting thing, granted, but it's something. We can also just get our Synthesizer back, if that's what we're about. And that gets out of hand awfully quickly. They can't really reanimate this troll either. They could be mono... It could be mono black, really. And they're just using this as a surveil land. Right, so we're going to lose our Displacer Kitten. Kitty go bye-bye. If we draw a land, we can just slam Thought Monitor, and that's pretty solid. Otherwise, we can just get this Simulacrum first, and then start making our board enormous. Skorpekh Lord. What am I doing with a Skorpekh Lord? This is not an artifact creature. I think the plan here is get ourselves the synthesizer and start going wild with it. Aether Spellbomb. That's kind of an interesting one. We don't need this Emry. Do I want this Aether Spellbomb, or are we just going to be making a bunch of guys next turn? We can't really do this and like play our Skorpekh Lord type stuff. Just put this on the bottom. And we'll get our 3 points of damage in. And next turn we should have enough creatures to block these if we want to. But they're going to take us down for 6, so we're going to be on 5 life. So next turn we can Thought Monitor, withdraw 2 cards, make us a construct. So we're able to block 1 guy and go to 2, and then if we have anything that we draw off the top that we can play that gives us a creature, then we get to make some more guys. I'm pretty sure our opponent is mono black though. Triple swamp is a lot of swamps. And the Undercity Sewers there is just to mislead people, which is a smart move, I think, to play Undercity Sewers as your surveil land of choice. So it will make people think that you've got counter spells. And the best time to make your opponent think you have counter spells is when you don't. Wait, so this is 3 damage. This is a 4th damage. No, wait, this isn't an artifact creature. Right, this duress doesn't do anything on our opponent's Hellbent. So no fear of Bowmasters. We have 4 damage in play right now. A Frogmite. That's pretty good. This is free. My favourite price to pay for things. So now let's target this Thought Monitor. Let's cast this. Alright. Yeah, so now we've just got so many things our opponent knows they can't get through it. Excellent. Mono Black Scam. This is probably where we're going to want some Faerie Macabres as an option. And also Unlicensed Hearse. These are both things I'm interested in. I'm not so big into Force of Will. It feels like something that's sometimes useful, but sometimes just no good for us. So I think I'd rather have these sorts of things. Pithing Needle for Wasteland is an option, but I don't think that's one we're going to take up. The Flusterstorms can be a better access to fight on counterspell-wise. And Orcish Bowmasters to kill our opponent's Orcish Bowmasters so we can get our card draw engines going is also something I'm interested in. However, we only get so many things. So I don't think we get to play these Flusters. And that's still 2 cards over. Is this Displacer Kitten thing a little bit too cute? I think so. Not just because it's a cat. Do I want these Metallic Rebukes, or would I rather have a couple of Bowmasters? I think I'd rather have a couple of Bowmasters, just to try and clear their Bowmasters out. But other than that, I quite like our setup here. I'll give this a go. So we got 6 pieces of graveyard here, which is quite a lot. Our opponent can certainly win without the graveyard, and it's more likely they try and do that post-board as well. So this is a turn 1 Chalice if we want it, or we can just play an Urza Saga game. This seems like an acceptable keep to me. It does some of the things I want to be trying to do. Powder Keg is something we need to be a little bit aware of. It can certainly blow us out in a big way. If they are an Entomb Reanimate deck, then having the Chalice of the Void in play early is slightly more important. However, the mono black scam decks tend not to be playing Entomb Reanimate. That doesn't mean they can't. It's well within the wheelhouse of things. Alright, so pitch to Shoulder's Edict to make this happen. What are we going to lose here? We've got a pretty solid hand. Right, taking the Chalice, so that makes our decision a little bit easier. I'm going to live in some amount of fear of Wasteland. But that's very much the price that we pay by playing a deck like ours. No additional follow-up from our opponent there. I will play an Urza Saga. If they waste on this, we can just reset the game with our next Urza Saga. And if our opponent didn't do anything with 1 mana last time, they might not be doing anything with 1 mana this time. Bloodstained Mire. I see an Animate Dead, perhaps? A Dalthy Voidwalker. Alright. We're very much not on the graveyard plan with Emry because we haven't got any blue mana anyway. So maybe this Emry ends up being imprinted into a Chrome Mox. Not the fate it necessarily wanted, but I can probably live with that. We can start doing some gross One Ring things soon. Grief Pitching Gix. Alright, our opponent is going very low on cards here. Are they going to take the One Ring so they can get it back with the Dalthy Voidwalker? I believe that is the correct play here. Yeah. Alright, I see you, opponent. Okay, let's just keep making lots of giant creatures as best we can. We can go and get the Pithing Needle for the One Ring if they sacrifice a Dalthy Voidwalker here. So we're kind of hoping they do that. But they know we've got a Pithing Needle in our deck. Wastelanding our Ancient Tomb. That's a little bit on the rude side, isn't it? Right, we'll make a token in response. Now, do you want that One Ring, opponent, or do you want the... I think if they were going to play the One Ring, they should be hitting our Saga. They should expect a Pithing Needle. Did we keep the Pithing Needle in is the next question. We did not. Interesting. We'll reanimate on the Grief. Sure, we're just going to keep losing more and more cards over here. So we'll probably get the Mox Opal here. That allows us to deploy a Cryptic Coat or an Emry. Emry seems pretty bad into Doughty, so I didn't really want to be doing that. We're taking the Frogmite. What a world. I think that's the right choice as well. But float mana for this. If we go and get the Mox Opal, then we have to play out our Vault of Whispers this turn rather than the Saga. So if we get the Chrome Mox and then print the Emry, that's not very good right now. That seems like the best upside for us. Let's get under their Emry. So then we can play out this Saga and deploy the Cryptic Coat. So we could double block into the Grief if we want to, or we can just start crashing. And we do win this race. So I'm going to start crashing. Because next turn we get another guy, they hit us for 6. We get another guy, they hit us for 6 again, then we just have like all the damages you can imagine. And the Doughty Voidwalker is always attacking here, because it's got Shadow. Well, unless they want to get the One Ring, or a Frogmite. Unlikely. Oh wow, they might be going for the One Ring. Sure. That is a good card. We don't have the Pithing Needle. I was not expecting our one-off One Ring to end up underneath the Doughty Voidwalker. Yep, there it is. So they're going to be protected for a turn. And then we just start making some more friends. They must have something really good that they're drawing to, like a Powder Keg style card. Alright, we're going to lose our Satoru, but our opponent's going to lose more life. Because Reanimate is life loss, whereas the One Ring doesn't prevent that. Okay, so the Stalactite Stalker should be growing. There it goes. An Orcish Bowmasters. It's a pretty savage blowout potentially here. Don't mind if I do. Well, we're obviously not attacking into their One Ring protection. But we'll wait till they fire their One Ring, and then we'll get to two pings onto a Grief. Or a Stalactite Stalker, depending on what we think is best. And they're not going to see this coming because we're just holding up as a Saga mana. Or maybe they're slightly worried about their life total, so they won't activate their ring. In which case, we can just make a Saga. I don't think I would resist the temptation of drawing 2 cards if I were them. All their creatures do have Menace. How many friends are coming to attack? They're holding back the Stalker. Am I double blocking here? We lose a Cloak token. I think that's something I can live with. We don't lose any amount of artifacts doing it this way either. Come on, tap that One Ring. I know you feel like you want to do it. This is growing their Stalker. Alright, we're still going to make this big guy. Tap the One Ring now? No. Another Orcish Bowmasters. They've got 1 card in their hand over there. Just make another friend. They did it in a way that they didn't kill our Cloak token last turn, which is an odd one. Would I like any of these things? I don't mind any of the Spellbomb. That'll be useful down the line. So each of these has to be blocked. So they're going to need an answer here. Them messing up the orders of blockers before could cost them deeply. Why didn't we attack with the Cloak? Oh, I did click it. Alright, we just win that one anyway. Yeah, so this is the sort of deck that you would imagine would be pretty good against like the scam side of things. Because they take a bunch of cards out of your hand, but then we've got lots of just engines like as a Saga, which if they can't contest it, just will poop out a load of guys that are bigger than them. We've also got things like Emry, which can recoup that lost card advantage, Thought Monitors, stuff like that. They didn't have any Bowmasters this round, which was certainly helpful for us. But we're 1-1, let's go to round 2. This is very much an Urza Saga hand. I will keep it. We're on the play, we can go Saga, Boots. That means our first construct can't be pinged. We could probably also play this Lotus Petal out. And then next turn, make a guy, make some more guys, just keep making guys. And that's what our deck is all about. Right, there's a Lavaspur Boots. Play this Lotus Petal as well. We just don't want it like discarded or under a Thalia or a Chalice or whatever. Right, we might be in some amount of mirror match territory here. But our build is a little bit different. An Emry, that's a Mighty Fine Magic the Gathering card. What do they find? A Lavaspur Boots, Cannoneer, Frogmite, Soulguide Lantern. This might just be one of those games where us being on the play does all the work for us. So do we want to Lavaspur Boots up so we can make a guy now who'll be a 1, 2, 3, and if we equip it, he'll still be a 3. I don't think that's worth burning our Petal for. when we've got other stuff we can do with it down the line, like giving our guys Menace with the black mana off of it. Like, it's our only black source. I think we just try and Urza Saga our way through. Got Synthesizer over there? They do. Okay. And they also have the Frogmite they can cast with this Emry. Yeah, our opponent looks like they're in a pretty good position here. Okay. That's a large creature, this one. There are some mirror matches in Magic that are real play skill testers. I'm not necessarily sure this is going to be one of them, though. It's going to be does my hand do better things than your hand? I think we are making another construct. That's very much what this game is going to be about. 4 artifacts. This will be the 5th artifact. 6, 7. So this will be free. Should we just get the Spellbomb? That answers a bunch of things. Let's equip this to this guy. Let's bash for some. They can't double block here because we have the onboard Aether Spellbomb. So they can chump and then replay the Frogmite if that's what they're about. Which then gives us the choice of, are we bouncing this Emry or are we bouncing this construct token? Because they're going to get this construct token, but I don't have an end step for my own end step, do I? Oh well. Unfortunate. We do have the Menace Lord that we're going to drop on our opponent next turn, though. Sure, you can Frogmite. Another Synthesizer. Yikes. Okay, this is getting out of hand here. And they're about to cast this Frogmite as well. Yuck. Yeah, I think our opponent's hand is just a little bit too much for us. If we'd have bounced this, they'd have 2 less constructs, though. So that is something we might have been able to do something about. Ugh. Yuck. Oh. Jeez. Look at all that nonsense over there. Their deck is probably a lot more 4-ofs than ours, so they're just going to reliably do this thing more and have less of like the weird little bits of interaction that we've got included in our deck, like a couple of forces and rebukes and things. Our opponent has like 1,000,000 power in play. That is lethal. I don't know how we're supposed to win this one. I'm going to just scoop this one up. We can't attach Cryptic Coat to something to make it unblockable. I think we just concede. Yeah, our opponent's hand did more stuff. We should have bounced that Emry, but I still don't think we're winning that one. Yikes. How are we supposed to win this game? Caracas bouncing their Emry is not an unreasonable thing. I don't think this is a Chalice matchup. Displacer Kitten is something that might be able to go over the top of what our opponent's doing. The Surge Extraction, I don't think we're about that. I think we'd rather have Hearses to keep the Emry in control, because this could also be a large creature. Maybe a couple of forces just to deal with Emry, because that can be a real problem for us. I guess this is what we're doing. I do not feel confident. I think our opponent's deck is a better built version of what we're doing. Or at least a more reliable one for this sort of matchup. Okay, we have Saga gaming into using our Force of Will to stop them getting a Synthesizer. They almost certainly have 4 Synthesizers in their deck as well, which is more than the number of Synthesizers that we have. They might also have some good sideboard cards like Hercule's Recall that we don't have access to. A Haywire Might. Yep. That's pretty good. That can take out our Urza Saga if they find a green mana next turn. An Emry Lurker of the Loch, you say. So this would be 1 artifact, 2 artifact, 3 mana. So not enough to make the Frogmite this turn. We could pitch a card, but I think we just need to keep this Force of Will up. Because Synthesizer is the thing that just lets you go over the top in these matchups. An Ancient Tomb. Our opponent can attack here if they want to. It's a case of how much we value our Saga construct versus their Haywire Might. Right, so they're going to make their construct now for the purposes of Pithing Needle. We also drew our Lavaspur Boots. It's not ideal for us. What do we want? If we get a Mox Opal, that turns on a few options for us. I think that's probably the best. A little bit more mana going. Okay, so we'll play this out. Cast ourselves an Emry, which is sort of a card that can go big. A Mox Opal, that's not really big, is it? We can play out this Frogmite. And I'll play out this Lavaspur Boots. We just want the biggest constructs. I'll play out this Chrome Mox no imprint. And we'll crash for 7. So the Haywire Might can take out our Artifact Land or our Lavaspur Boots. But we do get it back because we have the Emry. We're just relying on this Force of Will to do just enough to turn this one for us. Being on the play helps, and the fact that we have an answer to Synthesizer, which is the thing that let our opponent go over the top last time. Us being the aggressor whilst they're also tapping an Ancient Tomb is pretty pleasant for our chance of winning this game. Our opponent does have a whole grip full of cards though. Right, they got a Mox Opal as well. So that turns on the Haywire Might. It's only non-creature artifacts that can... Patches. Do I care about patches? I don't think so. We've kind of gone beyond the point of 1/1s mattering. Another Force of Will. That means we can cast this kitten. What does the kitten do is the next question. So we play the kitten, then we can play the Mox Opal. That allows us to blink a thing we have. And we can Lavaspur Boots onto our Emry after we've blinked. And then we can just mill our whole graveyard, right? Our whole deck. Alright, we're just going to try and do some crazy things here with the old kitten here. So this will untap our Emry, who'll then mill us for 4 again. Keep this one. That's for blue. We put the Lavaspur Boots on this, then we go again. What are we looking for is the question I'm now asking myself. I'm sure that'll become apparent soon enough. Just keep doing the thing that we have here. The One Ring. Certainly interesting. Alright, let's just keep doing this. Our opponent is F6 at this point. Frogmite doesn't feel like the exciting one we want here. Let's keep going. We got lots more in our deck to draw. Feels like this should get us somewhere. We can at least upgrade it into a Thought Monitor. We already have a Thought Monitor in here though. Are we just playing this Thought Monitor? We don't get to do that if we do this again now, right? Because we don't have the blue mana available. So equip onto this. We got a Sojourner's Companion. That's probably reasonable right now. Just get that one. Play that one out. It's pretty large. Then we go to attacks. They can double block. Just going for a chumping here. We have the One Ring as well if we need that. An absolute bounty of things. They gain 2 life from the Haywire Might dying. We've got the scariest things potentially covered with this Force of Will. The way our opponent F6 our turn makes me think they don't have any counter magic. Alright, an Urza's Saga. Not too shabby. A Synthesizer. This is a big no-no. Let's blink our Emry again. Alright, our opponent's scooping that because he counterspelled their spell that mattered. Excellent. I think we just go back in and try and do it again. I think we might have more counter magic than our opponent, but they have more synthesizers. Let's see how that battle fares. So this is a Saga hand again with the Force of Will. I think that worked well for us last time. If our opponent keeps a Synthesizer hand, that's pretty good. We might have to counterspell an Emry though. Sure, I don't mind that too much. We've lost a Mox Opal. That's it. We're not actually that heavily into zeros. The Displacer Kitten did something at least. Milled our deck a bit and gave us lots of options to choose from. Alright, so our opponent's going to be on a similar trajectory as a Saga-wise to us. Because they took a turn off because they don't have the Soul Land. But we're going to be taking damage for the privilege. Hopefully not having this Mox Opal won't come back to bite us. Alright, they're cycling their Sojourner's Companion, which is an important ability that I certainly overlooked last time I played this deck. Or a Synthesizer deck, I should say. I certainly didn't pay attention to the artifact cycling, if I'm being perfectly honest with myself. Okay, I think they're just going to hold up for Saga, unless they've got a Synthesizer, which is worth jamming potentially. Maybe an Emry? They're just making a construct. So they have they have a bigger selection of artifacts here. So we are behind on the artifact race. It is not really where I want to be, as you can imagine. We have an Otawara though. Maybe that can swing it by bouncing a construct with some nice timing. Make some friends again. I think we get the Aether Spellbomb here. Play out our seat. So let's just play out our Frogmite. We can attack with our 5/5. If they block, we bounce the Frogmite. Wait, that doesn't work, does it? They just trade then, don't they? Actually, that doesn't even work at all for us, right? Yeah, we're just trading off constructs. Okay. I still think that's fine. So I might be getting a Pithing Needle here, so I'm just going to bounce this now. Yeah, this leaves us with a construct, and we have another Saga. We also have the Force of Will keeping us somewhat covered. Alright, Shadow Spear is an interesting one. Mistvault Bridge. Maybe our opponent's running up the beanstalk in their deck. Simulacrum Synthesizer. That is very much the sort of level of card that I'm looking to cast. Let's have this. I think this is worth fighting over. Okay, we're getting a Surveil. So this is no good. This is also no good. We need big artifact. Big fighting artifact men. If we keep back our construct now, we can block the Shadow Spear. But if we attack with the Frogmite and they trade, I'm happy with that. We don't want our opponent gaining life. Alright, yeah, I'll take that trade. No. Right, I think our opponents realise it's not a great trade for them. Patches. Sure. That should get outclassed by us if we can do anything here. I mean, at the very least, we've got this Saga. But if we find any sort of like Frogmite, Thought Monitor, that sort of caliber of card, then we should be laughing here. I'll play out this basic island. I'll attack with our 2 friends. Oh, Dismember. -5, -5. So if we make a construct, this will not survive. So we should just let that happen. It did do 4 damage, which I can't really complain about. Our opponent's got 1 card left in hand. We've got a reasonable sized boy about to land. And hopefully we can start doing some synthesizing of simulacrums. But either way, we've still got 2 Aether Saga constructs ready to go. Okay, patches, that's fine. Anything they get to attack here. Let's make a large creature. That's a pretty big hit. Let's make a creature here. I don't mind paying some life. We are the aggro at this point. Is this Lavaspur Boots time? So we got 5 artifacts. This will be 6. So this is going to cost 1 mana anyway. Yeah, we can Lavaspur Boots it up. Alright, let's get some robots. Alright, our opponent's had enough because we started doing the synthesizer thing. And as you've seen in the games, when you start to do that, it is just lights out. Alright, we drew better than our opponent. I do think having access to more Force of Wills is quite handy in this matchup. It lets you either force through your synthesizer or stop theirs. They did have some Force of Wills too. The usual build you see of the synthesizer deck at the moment doesn't have main deck Force of Wills. In general though, I think we basically drew better, which is why we won this one more than anything else. Alright, let's go to round 4. This hand does not look good to me, so we're going to mulligan this one. I'm not a fan of that one either. Let's go to 5. Yikes. I guess we go to 4. Bad. I don't think we go to 3 though. Yuck. Displacer Kitten can get right out. And Thought Monitor is a long-term thing. Synthesizer is the sort of card that can just get us back into the game. So I think we're somewhat incentivized to keep that. We need to keep this for some sort of mana. If we draw any land, then we can cast this. I think we keep the best card. Right, we will play out our bits and pieces here. I don't think we can crack this Bauble for a land here because we need it for metalcraft purposes. We don't have as many zeros as a lot of these sorts of decks do. An Arab Mesa. That's a little bit ugly, isn't it? But we get to make a construct next turn because we go and find something off the first saga and we float and then we just immediately make a guy. So we're doing something. I feel very vulnerable right now though. Commercial district off of an Arab Mesa. This could be Painter. There are builds of Painter using Breakout at the moment. They left a card on top, so we still don't have any more information just yet. City of Traitors. Alright, our opponent's not doing something fair. Seething Storm. Oh, okay, they're the Storm deck. Ruby Medallion. Yep. 3 mana left. Seek the Beast. What do they have after Seek the Beast? A Lotus Petal and the thing that makes a bunch of dragons. So I need a little bit more mana to get to dragons. And we're not beating the dragons, I don't think. Lion's Eye Diamond. That is enough mana. Yep. I'll scoop that one up. Okay, I'm going to have these cards in our deck alongside the Chalice. So Extractions, which have been pretty bad the whole time, can get out. I don't think we need the One Ring here. This all seems in order. Let's roll like this. But they can sometimes do the Past in Flame lines. So there is an argument for Graveyard Hate. This might be slightly better than a Spellbomb. But other than that, I want to keep my blue cards. Skorpekh Lord is a reasonable amount of damage. Yeah, I think this is about where I'm at. Alright, this is okay. We can keep this. Our opponent does have Lotus Petals, so we could shut down their Lotus Petals on turn 1 and deploy an Emry. Which honestly seems pretty good. This isn't going to shut much out of their deck. But it helps us get our Emry online. It found a Bauble that we can't do anything with because of our own Chalice. But they've seen a bunch of counterspells. Alright. Immediately punished. So this is 1, 2... We're a long way off of casting these things. So it's Battle Emry time. In we come. We don't even have that many zeros, but we are shutting off Lotus Petal, which allows for their fastest draws. Maybe that was the thing they actually needed. I believe we cast this Emry. Keep the original. Get 4 more cards into our graveyard. A Skorpekh Lord. That doesn't do anything here. Because We don't have the mana. I guess we're just attacking again. Another land, and we get to play the Synthesizer. And that scries us hopefully into the action we need to then start making some big friends, and then it should be lights out after that. Alright, they're in the discarding 0 drops stage of the game. Alright, a Metallic Rebuke. That is a card that actually does something here. Happy to see that. We're just going to keep pecking away for 1 until we draw something else. Turns out our Chalice for 0 was pretty good. We're going to see a Petal or an LED here. Discarded another LED. An Unlicensed Hearse. That gives us another artifact, but takes us off of Metallic Rebuke for a turn. Is having 3 artifacts in play good enough? I think it's worth trying this and getting some more artifacts in play. Makes future Metallic Rebukes better. Okay. Cedar Traitors goes bye-bye. They have a Scalding Tarn. I will Force of Will the first spell they put on the stack here. Well, depends what it is. If it's a Seething Song, then we're going to say no to that one. A Name Sticker Goblin. I think it's the Thought Monitor that goes here. We're a bit of a ways off of that one. Oh, we need to activate. Well, we did not activate our Hearse. Foolish. Okay. Now the issue we have here is that if we play the Synthesizer, we don't have anything to go with it right now, and it takes us off of Metallic Rebuke. So I believe we're just going to play the Saga, attack for 1, hold up Metallic Rebuke. Which Emry's done a little bit of work. Chipped away their life total. A Rite of Flame. Okay. I think we leave this one. It's just going to be a Seething Song. A Burgie. Let's say no to that one. That's a lot of mana that card can generate. It's time to actually get rid of their things. If we play out the Synthesizer here, we don't get to make our Saga construct. So we're just attacking again. It's the 7th point of damage that our Emry has dealt. It's going for a record. We are shields down now though. A Manamorphose like this is normally not a sign of things going well. It's like a bit of a desperation trying to find something else to work with. But it's not a bad way of like starting a turn as well, because it's relatively low risk. It's not one of your big mana spells or anything, or one of your big draw spells. It's kind of a neutral card that lets you decide if you're in a position to go off. Commercial District. I feel we're going to see one of the 2 mana draw 2 cards, but not quite draw 2 cards. Just another Manamorphose. Okay. A Burning Wish. Are we going to see a Pulverize? I don't think that's the sort of thing they have, but they could have some kind of scary blowable artifacts. Could be Meltdown. Shattering Spree. That's the sort of nonsense I was talking about. Let's get rid of those. Let's make a construct while we can. Make another construct here. So Shattering Spree replicates, so we don't actually get to save anything with our Force of Will. We can save a little bit of something, but not a lot. Is this the Lavaspur Boots turn just to smash our opponent for lethal? I think it is. Put this on here. Yeah, okay, so we have that game. Okay, I like how we sideboarded here. I don't think we want anything else. Just going to go in. Like, yes, Orcish Bowmasters can do stuff against Manamorphose, but most of the stuff is exile and then play until your next end step, so it's not going to hit anything. Then we just go in again. We have a counter spell. We have a Satoru that can then do some stuff. I think this is reasonable. Ancient Tomb. Rude Medallion. I don't think we're fighting over this. We're going to fight over like, sort of the next round of stuff. We're not doing as a Saga stuff, so we're just going to play out the Seat of the Synod for now. If we draw another blue card, we might have 2 Force of Wills. Alright, here comes an Arid Mesa activation. They've got a Tiger here. A Manamorphose. This does generate mana because of the Rude Medallion, so it is a ritual that cantrips. A Reckless Impulse, leaving a little bit of mana behind. A Seething Song. This will tap them out of red mana, so we can say no to this. Leave our opponent with 4 cards in hand. I want to keep the Satoru here, but if we draw another blue card, we're going to need this Force. We can just play a Frogmite next turn. It's not the sexiest thing. Alright, so we have another blue card, so we're instantly rewarded for that play. And playing this guy out is fine. Maybe if we play out the Saga, it ends up being slightly quicker, clockwise. Another Force of Will. My cup runneth over. Okay, let's bash for some. I think we're 1 mana shy of our Sojourner's companion here. Is that right? 4 mana, yeah. Okay. But we do have Force of Will pitching potentially a Thought Monitor in case we draw another blue card. What is this? Ugh. No, thank you. Again, I think we keep the Force of Will in case we draw another blue card. Our clock is going to be fine. Alright, that is another blue card. Let's go to attacks. Who'd have thought that 2024 was the year that Frogmite made its comeback? What a time to be alive. After all these years. Right, 3 cards in our opponent's hand. We've got a Metallic Rebuke, which is going to be difficult to leverage given the amount of mana our opponent has. But we can chuck it into our Force of Will and just be grateful that we drew 3 Force of Wills and the blue cards to go with them. Right, a Past in Flames. Let me just say no to this one. And then our threat is lethal here. Golden Tarn, 2 cards in hand. Seems unlikely they can go with 2 cards here. Past in Flames is 5 to flashback, so 4 under the Rune Medallion. Let's just make this... Right, so we have lethal here. We did manage to get there in the end, but we did get very lucky to draw triple Force of Will, and I think we did need all of them. So we did make some good plays in terms of not getting greedy and going, oh, I want this Satoru to try and draw some cards, and just saying, no, let's try and maximise our opportunities to cast Force of Wills. But yeah, we got pretty fortunate at that one, and I'll take it. So that puts us at 3-1 going into the final round, so positive record locked in. Let's see if we can get the 4-1. Turn 1 Emry with Force of Will back up into Synthesizer. Yeah, sign me up. Wait, what am I talking about? It's not turn 1 Emry at all. It's the wrong artifact land. Whoopsie. Oh dear, oh dear. That was an embarrassing one, wasn't it? This hand is still fine though. We've got a lot of blue sources. We've got a Force of Will to keep us alive for a bit. How punished are we going to be this game? Play out this Vault of Whispers. Play out this Ornithopter. And then we have a Skorpekh Lord next turn. I think it's better to keep the Ancient Tombs safe from a wasteland. I thought Seize. Alright, you can see our embarrassing hand there, opponent. You know, you sometimes have those days where your brain just blanks on something. Unfortunate. Not sure why my brain told me that was a Seat of the Synod and not a Vault of Whispers, but here we are. To be fair, against a scam deck, you really don't want to mulligan at all if you can avoid it. So maybe it will end up being the right decision, even though it clearly wasn't. Surgical Extraction is weirdly useful for us. Let's get the old Skorpekh Lord in and bash for 1 with our Ornithopter. The most menacing Ornithopter you've ever seen. Boom. Ah, Source to Plowshares with 40k art. I've not even seen this art before. Huh. Something like a Cycle Troll and then try and reanimate it. That would be nice for us. Stoneforge Mystic. This is going to go and get them a Cauldra. And that's going to beat us down in pretty short order. This black-white scout deck is pretty good, I think. I don't like the ephemerates in it. I don't think they're actually very good. But everything apart from that seems pretty solid. Cryptic Coat that we can't... I'm getting absolutely punished for my lack of attention to what was in my opening hand there. Now, we can still win this one. If we just start doing Synthesizer into stuff, then we can probably get there with just a recurring horde of massive things that can soak up all the Cauldra damage. But we do have a limited amount of time. Yuck. Okay. Not the way. Sure, you can take a big bite out of our life total. Yikes. A Chrome Mox, you say? We get to start playing the game now. So next time we can cast another Synthesizer. Frogmite, genuinely pretty helpful here. Do I want another Synthesizer after that? Probably. I'll top them both. So yeah, so if we play the Synthesizer and the Frogmite next turn, that's quite a lot of damage we can prevent. Oh, they got something else. Sword of Fire and Ice. That's a little worrying. That's a lot of damages that's coming our way here. Plow. This is just lethal, right? 7 and then the 2 off the Sword of Fire and Ice. Yeah. If we'd have drawn a blue land a turn earlier, I think we might have been alright. I guess they also have the Stoneforge that attacks as well. Yeah, we just kept a stupid hand because I wasn't paying full attention. Alright, busted. Okay. What do I like in this matchup? I don't particularly think the Force of Wills are very good because our opponents are going to be scamming us and that sort of jam. Pithing Needle I do like. They don't really have legendary creatures we need to care about. I wouldn't mind having some graveyard hate, but should I be doing fairies or should I be doing a licensed hearse? Probably the hearse because it just goes with our plan a bit better. And the One Ring is a very good way of getting around this. Aether Spellbomb bouncing their guy is pretty nice too. Can I fit another unlicensed hearse in? I'm not really convinced by Displacer Kitten in this deck. I'm not really sure what it's achieving for us. Do we want Bowmasters in for their Bowmasters? I think it's probably better than Displacer Kitten, isn't it? That card is not very good, in my opinion. Alright, if we'd have kept a good hand, I think we could have won that one. But, well, we don't know how much removal our opponent had and stuff. And they still had a bunch of cards in hand. This is a turn 1 Metallic Rebuke into turn 2 Do Nothing, into turn 3 Hope we can Simulacrum. I think we can do better. Alright, this is a turn 1 Emry with the draw engine and some protection against Troll Reanimate hand. It won't really work against Grief, but let's make an Emry. We don't want to draw now because our opponent has ways of messing with our hand, like grief and stuff, so we're going to draw in our opponent's turn. We'll see what they're drawing this turn. And then we get the card next turn. Pest Control. Yeah, pretty good against the old constructs. Wasteland. They've got Solitude here as well. That'd be pretty... Okay, they're just letting us do this. So I think we're going to put the Sojourner Extraction underneath our Chrome Mox. Use this Lotus Petal to cast this Simulacrum Synthesizer. I'm not a big fan of the Chrome Mox getting eaten up by the Pest Control, but they're 2 turns away from casting that. This isn't what I want. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we put this on top, we can cast this next turn. Right, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. We're looking at... So the reason they wouldn't do the Wasteland there is if they're going to be... Yeah, so they're going to be doing some sort of Troll Cycling shenanigans, or they have a 2-drop they're desperate to play, like a Stoneforge, and they think that can race us or whatever. Stony Silence. That's a bit rude, isn't it? That is very rude. We know they have Pest Control, so I don't really want to start accumulating artifacts here, so I think we are just attacking. Yeah, powerful sideboard card is powerful. Yikes. Maybe we have to keep in our forces if they got Stony Silence. Alright. Do I want to keep playing this game is the next question I have to ask myself. Like, we punted game 1. I think we can just call this one, right? How we... that's not true. We're quite close to playing Frogmite. If they Pest Control us and get rid of our Mox, then we can probably call it a day. If they Pest Control Wasteland us, that's like super GG's there because we just have nothing. Well, we can find another artifact land into Frogmite, which then starts synthesizing. Alright, so they're getting the other scrub land, which is going to allow them to cast Pest Control. So that's a fun thing for us next turn. Oh, look at that. An indestructible land. So now we can cast a Frogmite. They're cycling the Pest Control. Wow. That's very disrespectful. We could have killed our Chrome Mox. Or saved it for synthesizers. We're going to see something really fruity like Kataki here. Grief. Sure. This gives them an actual clock to win the game with now. I think they take the Thought Monitor. No, they took the Bowmasters. Interesting. Now, we're ways off of casting Thought Monitor, but we're ways off of casting Bowmasters. We're probably nearer to casting Thought Monitor than we are Bowmasters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to draw an Ancient Tomb here. And that lets us cast Thought Monitor, which puts a big friend into play. And then maybe we can actually crawl out from underneath this one. The Ran of the Third Path. So we're going to lose our Synthesizer, which was the linchpin of how we were trying to come back in this game, really. That also takes away one of our pieces of affinity mana. Alright. Look, I don't think this is going to be very fun to watch us lose over the next 5 turns, so I'm just going to concede this one for your lovely people's sake. We kind of punted that last one. Like, we were going to get smashed in that second game for sure, but we punted by keeping a hand there. By not paying full attention to which artifact land it was. I'm sure we've all done it. Except I've done it on camera to embarrass myself, you lovely people. Alright, let's talk about this deck. So, clearly the Synthesizer plan is very strong. I don't think there's any denying that. How you build around that, I think is still something people are working on. Clearly Aether Saga is always going to be part of that plan. And I think having Emry to then start doubling up on, you know, getting all your Metalcraft stuff out of the graveyard, or replaying Thought Monitors in the mid-game, or, you know, just mill something useful. It can mill a Skorpekh Lord, which you can just bring back. So Emry clearly seems like a pretty good part of that plan. Satoru, I think if you're doing Satoru things, maybe we should be doing more into Satoru. So have more Frogmites, more ways of just getting up and running and kind of rolling with it. And I might try and play something along those lines next time I try a Synthesizer deck. Just go a bit harder with Satoru's. But I think there is, you know, some weaknesses in this deck because it's not really a counterspell heavy deck. We have 4 counterspells, but we can be a little bit cold to some artifact hate. Now, the Aether Saga is supposed to kind of plug that gap. But I think if decks are running Pest Control and Stony Silence, then we're going to have a real rough time into those sorts of matchups, which is something to consider. I think 2 Chalice is a really weird number to have in a deck like this. Like, is this really worth the slot when we could just have, I don't know, another Frogmite and maybe another Mox Opal to get us up and running in the first place? That seems a bit more solid to me. And we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Displacer Kitten. this place is not the place for this kitten. That's my take on this one. This is quite an expensive card. Our expensive cards are ones that are getting discounted by Affinity, right? We're rarely wanting to pay for like 4 mana for a spell. And by the time we play this, our hand is going to be empty because everything else is easier to cast, so we're going to play it first. So then we're just going to be sort of sat there. Now, if you've got Emry, you can do some stuff here, but what we were doing with it didn't even feel that good. And like, we kind of need 2 mana to do the whole equip this with Lavaspur Boots and do stuff. I just don't see what this card is doing for us. Like, yeah, if we can, you know, blink a Thought Monitor, that seems pretty good, and also trigger some Satoru stuff. But that seems like a lot of things to line up to play this card that is not very good, in my opinion. So I would suggest this Displacer Kitten and this Chalice of the Void. These are things that I don't think should necessarily be in this deck, and I'm not convinced by the One Ring either. Now, I see what it can do here, but if we just had another Frogmite, cut these for another Mox Opal, possibly 2 Mox Opals, maybe have another couple of Satoru on there, then all of a sudden this is looking more like the sort of deck list I'd like to play. And, you know, Satoru is a blue card, and if you want more blue cards of Force of Will, then it makes sense to add more of these. It's also a fine thing you can pitch without really caring too much. It's a nice pitch, this one-off Chrome Mox. Should we be running a one-off Chrome Mox? That is another question. And I think if we're making changes, that could be one that goes for another Lotus Petal, which I think would be more helpful for the most part. But, like, clearly the Synthesizer shell is strong. I don't think this is an optimal build at all, and the main deck Surging Extractions didn't feel great. I think if you want some main deck graveyard hate, get rid of these Chalices, run some Soul Guide Lanterns. Like, there's a bunch of Delver decks now that are running 2 Soul Guide Lanterns in the main deck because it's really, really good in a bunch of matchups, and when it isn't, it just cycles, and it's fine. It's kind of like Pest Control in a lot of ways, where Pest Control is really, really good in a lot of matchups, but when it's not good, you just cycle it, and that's fine. And people were sort of using Soul Guide Lantern in a similar way, which I think is pretty sensible at the end of the day. But yeah, this deck has some problems in my eyes. This isn't necessarily the way you want to do it. I think you don't even need to be playing black here. We could just be a straight up mono blue deck, and that seems fine. Although I would like to try and experiment with Satoru a bit more. It does seem like quite a fancy engine. Maybe you could run Satoru and up the Beanstalk, and then try and play like Mirror Enforcers and play like a really big deck, and you just kind of like rifle through your deck with one or the other. I played something similar to that before, but we didn't have the right tools. We didn't have the synthesizer as a payoff. Yeah, we probably want another synthesizer in here as well, actually, right? Okay, I think that's about it for my thoughts on this one. Synthesizer shells are good. People are still going to mess around with them. I don't think the perfect synthesizer deck has been built yet. I think there's some good blue-red builds that people are working on that I've seen that haven't quite been picking up trophies in leagues yet. But I think that is a way forward that people should be looking towards. And I'll probably try on the channel soon. I've got lots of stuff to try though, and you don't want to see the synthesizer deck day after day, so we try and mix it up a bit. But in coming weeks, we'll probably try that one. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate all of you people who subscribe and like the videos as well. It does really help, and the support I've been getting from the Magic community is wonderful, and I just wanted to thank you all so much for that. Alright, and also just thank you for watching this one, right? Okay, I'm done now, so goodbye.
If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbodepths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbodepths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.